And our first story has sparked outrage across America. A serial child sex offender has cut a deal with prosecutors in Louisiana, agreeing to be both surgically and chemically castrated after trying to rape a 7-year-old girl. Under the plea, 37-year-old Thomas Allen McCartney will also serve 40 years behind bars. McCartney's criminal record is horrific, spanning nearly 2 decades, including aggravated rape and carnal knowledge of juveniles. I've got to say, isn't this the perfect solution to all pedophiles? Castration, chemical castration. Now, I know there's a lot of people who would say, oh, it's inhuman. No, what they do to kids is inhuman. This is great. I love this idea. And this should be, if you're a pedophile and you want to get out of jail and reintegrate into the community, I think it should only be done with chemical castration. Chemical castration is the way to do this, because this guy has become one of the first offenders sentenced under Louisiana's tough new castration law. Now, and it only just came into effect last year. Now, supporters say this sends a message to predators everywhere, but critics warn it could be cruel, unusual, and ultimately unconstitutional. Why is it cruel? Why do these do-gooders give more compassion to the perpetrators of crimes than the victims? And lest we forget, the victims that I'm talking about here are kids. You know, this isn't even a criminal activity against adults. It's criminal. It's sexual abuse against kids. And there are people saying, oh, it's a bit cruel to castrate them. Don't give a crap. I really don't give a crap. And as far as I'm concerned, do it to them, even if they're not getting out of jail. But I will tell you, here in Queensland, dealing with pedophiles is something we're grappling with here in Australia too. And there's a huge shake-up in the way Australia tackles child protection, because you may have heard about this. In Queensland, we are about to become the first state in the nation to launch a public child sex offender register. It's called Daniel's Law, named, of course, after Daniel Morecambe. And for the first time, parents will be able to apply for photos and details of offenders in their community. Supporters say it's about giving families the power to protect their kids, but critics warn the scheme must be tightly controlled to avoid vigilante justice. Again, worried about the perpetrators of the crime and not the victims. And I come back to this because we all do worry about these pedophiles being in our community. So what if you're found guilty of being a pedophile and doing unspeakable acts to kids? And what if we said, you've served your time, you've gone through the whole appeal process, and what if we said you want out of jail, you want to reintegrate into society, then you have to agree to be castrated, otherwise you stay in jail. Now, we often hear do the time, do the crime, and once they've done the crime, they deserve a second chance. I think there's a difference here between someone who breaks into a house and someone who commits one of these horrendous acts, because it's a need. It's something inside them, isn't it? They don't think the same as you and me. And if they have that need, then rehabilitation isn't really an option. Yep, they're found guilty of a crime, they do their time, and then they're back out again. But that need, that desire is still there. I don't believe it goes away. But if they have chemical castration, maybe it will. And my understanding is that it does, because you've lost that sexual desire. Wouldn't that be a good way to deal with this and make the community a safer place? Chemical castration. Let's do it.
Fun, insightful interviews from a washed-up producer with nothing to lose.